أيها الأخوة الكرام، لقاؤنا في هذا اليوم عن أمر مهم جدا وهو تكوين الأسرة. لكن قبل أن ندخل في هذا الأمر أحضرت معي مفتاحين مهمين جدا.
Bismillah walhamdulillah. Bismillah walhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulullah. The Sheikh began by praising Allah and sending salutations on the Prophet. He then mentioned that today we're going to be discussing a very important issue, which is how a family is brought together or put together. But before we go into that issue, we want to discuss two very important issues that will allow us to go into the issue of putting together a family.
أحضرت معي مفتاحين مهمين جدا. المفتاح الأول يفتح لنا باب السنة والالتزام بأوامر الشريعة.
The first key, as he the first key, as he mentioned it, will allow us will be a path into the Sunnah and following the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
والمفتاح الثاني نغلق به أبواب البدعة والمعاصي ومخالفة أوامر الشرع.
The second key will allow us to close the door to innovations, sins, and things that go against the legislations of Islam.
أما المفتاح الأول فأقربه لكم بسؤال.
As for the first key, which is following the Sunnah, he's going to open or provide information about that by asking a question.
المفتاح الأول الذي هو مفتاح باب السنة والالتزام بالشريعة.
The first issue, which is holding on to the Sunnah and following the Sunnah.
تقريبه أننا لو تصورنا أننا في مجلس النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام وأمر أحدنا بأمر أو نهاه عن نهي، ماذا سيفعل المؤمن؟
If we were sitting with the Prophet, we were sitting together with him, and he commanded one of us to do something or forbade us from doing something, then what would be our response to that?
أكيد أن المؤمن لن يفكر إذا أمره النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام في مجلسه بأمر من الأمور، لن يفكر في أهوائه ولا عاداته ولا تقاليد أهل بلده.
No doubt that a person who is commanded by the Prophet, if he has true iman, then he's not even going to think about it. He's not even going to take it into consideration. He's not going to think about how he feels or what he's accustomed to or his desires.
وإنما يمتثل تلقائيا.
Immediately he would do exactly as he was told.
كذلك لو أن النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام أرسل إلى المؤمن رسولا يأمره فيه بأمر أو ينهاه عن نهي، فجاء ذلك الرسول الثقة الصادق إلى هذا المؤمن وأخبره بأن النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام يأمرك أن تفعل كذا أو أن تنتهي عن كذا، ماذا سيفعل المؤمن؟
Similarly, if the Prophet himself sent a messenger on his behalf to convey some type of message commanding him to do something or forbidding him to do something, when that messenger from the Prophet came, and if we trust that Prophet, that he's trustworthy, that he's honest, that we are sure that the Prophet ﷺ sent him with this message, then of course we would follow it as well.
لعلكم وصلتم إلى الرسالة التي أريد أن أوصلها إليكم قبل أن أذكرها.
Perhaps you already understand now what I intend to say, even though I haven't directly said it.
لكني سأذكرها.
But I will say it directly.
الرسالة والمفتاح الذي أتيت به هو أن الدين محفوظ، وأن الدين الذي بين أيدينا صحيحه من القرآن والسنة الصحيحة كأن النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام يخاطبنا به في مجلسه.
The first point that I wanted to mention, or the first key to discussing this issue, is that the deen is preserved, is that the religion is preserved, and that when we hear the Sunnah of the Prophet, or when we hear the things that are mentioned from the Prophet, all of those things go back to him, and all of those things have been preserved, and it's as if he's actually speaking to us when we hear his Sunnah.
وبناء عليه فالمؤمن ينبغي أن يستقبل أوامر الشريعة كأنه يتلقاها تلقائيا من الله جل وعلا ومن النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام.
So whenever a directive is given in Islam, he should take it as if the Prophet ﷺ is actually speaking to him and giving him that directive directly.
المفتاح الثاني الذي نغلق به باب البدعة ونغلق به باب المعاصي بتوفيق من الله جل وعلا هو
The second key which we will use to close the door to innovation and going against the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ,
أقربه بسؤال آخر.
I want to present it to you by asking another question.
لو أن أحدنا في مدينة النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام في العهد الأول مع النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام,
If we were here in the beginning times with the Prophet ﷺ, in the early times of Islam,
وعرض له أمر من أمور دينه,
and something relating to his religion came or became an issue,
بينه وبين النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام حوالي 5 كيلومتر,
and there's only 5 kilometers between him and the Prophet,
ماذا سيفعل؟ هل سيظن أنه يجتهد أو أنه سيذهب إلى النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام أو يرسل إليه رسولا يسأله ماذا سيفعل؟
If he has an issue relating to his religion, is he going to try to figure the situation out for himself, or is he going to travel those 5 kilometers and go to the Prophet ﷺ?
الجواب التلقائي أنه إما أن يذهب إلى النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام وإما أن يوكل أحدا من أصحابه يأخذ له الحكم من النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام.
Our immediate response would be that either we would go to the Prophet ﷺ ourselves, or that we would send someone to go ask him on our behalf.
نعود بهذا إلى نفس الجواب الأول. الدين محفوظ.
We go back to the same issue as we mentioned with the first key in following the Sunnah, is that the deen, the religion is preserved.
فلا يجوز لأحد أن يقدم على أمر من الأمور إلا بعد أن يعرف حكم الله فيه.
A person is not allowed to engage in any situation unless he knows what is the ruling of Islam on that situation.
بهذا نغلق أبواب البدع والمعاصي إذا التزمنا بأننا لا نعمل شيئا إلا بعد أن نرجع إلى الكتاب والسنة.
We can close the door to innovation and sin if we require ourselves that when an issue presents itself related to our religion, that we go back to the Quran and to the Sunnah.
وبالمفتاح الأول كذلك نفتح باب التعبد على الوجه الصحيح.
And also with our first key, which is also following the Sunnah, we can make sure that we worship Allah and that we do the interactions that we have to do in the correct manner.
ولاحظوا أن المفتاحين صنعا من مادة واحدة.
And these 2 keys were actually made from the same material,
هي مراقبة الله جل وعلا,
which is having an awareness of Allah's watching and Allah's presence and Allah's looking over us.
وتعظيم شرعه,
And that we have an awe for His legislation.
وتعظيم قدر نبيه عليه الصلاة والسلام.
And that we hold His Prophet ﷺ likewise in awe.
هذا المدخل الذي أريد أن ندخل به إلى درسنا المتعلق بأحكام الأسرة.
So this is the introduction that I wanted to give to you before actually getting into our lesson on putting together the Islamic family.
لأني أريد أن نستوعب أنه يجب علينا أن نتقيد في أحكام الأسرة وفي غيرها بما في دين الله جل وعلا.
Because when we talk about issues related to the family and putting together the family, that it's important that we always go back to what Islam legislates.
سواء تعودنا غير ذلك أو أحاطت بنا الضغوط والظروف فإننا دوما وأبدا نلتزم بهدي النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام في كل صغيرة وكبيرة.
Even if we have become accustomed to otherwise, if we find ourselves in difficult situations, that we still require ourselves to follow the precepts of Islam.
درسنا في الزواج وتكوين الأسرة الناجحة.
The way to put together a family and to get married in a successful way.
لكن قبل أن نخوض في الدرس قبل أن نبدأ في الدرس عندنا أسئلة تفاعلية.
Before we begin our lesson, we want to ask a couple of questions to make the lesson a bit more interactive.
الأخ يقرأها بالإنجليزي موجودة عندي بنفس اللغة.
Marriage in Islamic law is always allowable and it could not be obligatory in any case. Yani that marriage in Islam is always simply permissible and that it's never mandatory for a person to get married. Would you say that's true or false? Never mandatory to get married. Always it's simply permissible or mubah. It is prohibited for a Muslim to propose to a woman who is already engaged to another Muslim.
نريهم الأجوبة الصحيحة.
It is permissible for a man to sit privately with his fiancée. It is permissible. The verification of the bride's consent is one of the three integral parts of marriage. The verification of the bride's consent is one of the three integral parts of marriage. The dowry belongs to the bride, not to her legal guardian.
هذه الأجوبة موافقة لأجوبتهم. False 3, false 3.
This one?
أي. هذا إيش هو؟
المهر. هي الملك الخطيب وليس الرئيس.
هو ملك للزوجة.
الزوجة.
Section 2.
طيب. طيب, it says the next set of questions, it says choose the right answers from the options given below. One category of the temporary unmarriable women is give me a moment. A person is not allowed to marry his sister or his cousin. Sister. Shigar marriage, the marriage known in Islam as shigar marriage. This is marriage where women are exchanged under guardianship, or is it a marriage without a marriage contract without a mahar or without a dowry? Again, shigar marriage, which is an Islamic term for a type of marriage, is it an impermissible type of marriage? Is it exchanging women under guardianship, or is it marrying women without a dowry or without a mahar? Holding a wedding banquet is a sunnah, or it is not important but a waste of money?
هذه الأجوبة.
Can you read the answers, please?
They want me. You read أقرأ الجواب.
Later on, if you're doing more, give the sister a chance to respond as well.
Okay.
They're available on the mic.
Okay. How do I do this?
You just ask them. They're listening.
Okay.
Live. So if they want to answer to these, if they have any questions, if they.
So the answer to the first question was, I didn't see that in the question. It says widows in their legal waiting period for women who are a category of temporary unmarriageable women, any women who are temporarily unmarriable. The second one, shigar marriage, is marriage of exchanging women under guardianship, as some of you said. Holding a wedding banquet is a sunnah. It's not that it is a waste of money, or not that it's simply allowable or mubah, or not that it's muharram. I apologize for my presentation of the questions. The structure of it didn't make some of the questions clear or the options clear.
لهذا الدرس عدة أهداف.
This lesson has several goals.
الهدف الأول أن يعرف المتدرب أهمية الزواج وتكوين الأسرة في الإسلام.
So the first important issue is for you to know the importance of being married and putting together a family in terms of Islam.
والثاني أن يفهم المتدرب المصطلحات الفقهية في أبواب الأنكحة وتوابعها.
So that you also, the next goal is for you to be familiar with the terminology related to marriage.
والثالث أن يستحضر المتدرب الأحكام الأساسية في فقه الأسرة.
Also for you to know the basic legislations related to marriage and family.
الرابع أن يعرف المتدرب الأحكام المتعلقة بخطبة النكاح.
Also to know the marriage, the Islamic regulations related to proposals.
والخامس أن يعرف المتدرب حكم نكاح المسلم للكتابية وأثر إسلام أحد الزوجين.
Also to know the ruling of Islam on marrying a Christian or Jewish woman and how that how that affects either of the spouses in such a relationship.
خليك كبيرة.
كبيرة صوتها كبير.
لا عندي هنا. لا الشاشة. لا كنت في الأهداف.
وراء؟
في الأهداف
هنا وراء؟
لا أمام. بس ما تجي كبيرة شوي.
تجي كبير وراء. أنت
طيب ماشي إن شاء الله. كذلك من أهداف هذا الدرس أن يعرف المتدرب أركان النكاح وشروط النكاح وبعض متعلقاتها.
Another goal is for you to know the pillars of marriage, the conditions of marriage, and other things related to those pillars and conditions.
كذلك أن يعرف أسس التربية والتنشئة الإسلامية للأطفال.
Also to know the foundations for raising children and rearing children in Islam.
أما مفردات المقرر مفردات الدرس.
As for the terminology related to this lesson,
أهمية الزواج في الإسلام.
Knowing or the individual points of the lesson, the importance of marriage in Islam,
وحكم النكاح.
the ruling of marriage itself,
وأحكام الخطبة.
the rulings related to the proposal,
وأركان النكاح وشروطه.
the pillars of marriage and the conditions of marriage,
والمحرمات في النكاح.
prohibited matters related to marriage,
وعرض نموذج لعقد النكاح عرض ورقي.
We'll give you an actual representation of a physical marriage contract.
وحكم زواج المسلم بالكتابية.
The ruling of a Muslim marrying a Christian or a Jewish woman.
اليهودية والنصرانية. وإسلام أحد الزوجين وأثره على العلاقة الزوجية.
If one of the spouses accepts Islam and the other one doesn't or delays in doing so.
وأحكام حفل الزواج.
And also having the wedding party.
كذلك من مفردات المقرر إنفاذ الزواج الدخول.
Consummating the marriage is another issue.
والتنشئة الإسلامية للأطفال.
And also development of children in Islam or the rearing of children in Islam.
وتعريف الأسرة ومفهومها.
And what is a family as in Islamic terms?
وأهمية الأسرة كذلك.
The importance of the family.
وبعض هذه الموضوعات متداخلة.
And some of these issues are interrelated.
فأهمية الأسرة هي نفس أهمية الزواج.
So the importance of the family is related directly to the importance of marriage.
ومفهوم الأسرة هو نفس مفهوم الزواج
And the concept of marriage is related to the concept of the family as well.
لكن الأسرة تعرضت لهجوم في هذا العصر الذي نحن فيه.
But the family itself, the family structure, the family unit is under attack in present times.
هجوم ثقافي
It's a cultural attack,
وتنظيمي
and also attack in terms of how in the structure of the family as well.
أحدث للأسرة مفهوما معاصرا غير المفهوم المعهود.
It has changed our conceptualization and understanding of the family in a way that it wasn't understood previously.
فهذا يحرجنا إلى أن نعرف مفهوم الأسرة.
So it requires us now to study again or to take another look at what is the concept of family.
سواء كانت أسرة قصيرة
Whether it's a nuclear family,
اللي هي المكونة من الأبوين والأولاد
which consists of the parents and the children,
أو الأسرة الممتدة
or the extended family,
التي تصل إلى الأجداد وسائر القرابة.
which includes grandparents and other relatives like aunts and uncles and so on.
لهذا المفهوم الصحيح للأسرة
The correct understanding of what a family is,
لأن الأسرة مأخوذة في اللغة العربية من كلمة الأسر.
the term usra, family in Arabic, is taken from the word asr,
وهو القوة.
which entails power or strength.
فالأسرة سميت بهذا الاسم
So family is called usra
لأن بعضها يقوي بعضا.
because they support or strengthen one another, or members of the family support or strengthen one another.
وهذا يستلزم التمدد،
So this
يستلزم الكثرة.
so this shows that there should be a lot of members, because more members would mean or necessitate more strength.
ومن هنا فبعض المفاهيم الحديثة للأسرة مفاهيم غير صحيحة، أن الأسرة عبارة عن الزوجين.
So some of our contemporary understandings of what a marriage is or what family is are deficient. Some people understand family simply to be the two spouses.
حتى لو كان ذلك في الغرب على سبيل الزواج المثلي يعتبرونه أسرة.
Even when you have gay marriage, that's still considered marriage in Western terms.
وهذا كله من أجل تفكيك الأسرة وتفكيك الأمة.
And that's because the marriage has been broken down, or the breaking of the structure of the marriage.
وإذا كانت الأسرة هي بمفهوم الزواج فالكلام عن الأسرة هو الكلام عن نفس الزواج.
If we understand the family to be related directly to marriage, then when we talk about marriage, then we're talking about the family.
لأن الزواج هو النواة الأولى لتكوين الأسرة.
What is?
الزواج هو النواة الأولى.
It's the marriage is the first step in creating a family.
مصادر المقرر عندنا مصادر هذا الدرس.
The resources that were used in terms of putting this class or this course together.
هي الملخص الفقهي للشيخ صالح الفوزان.
ملخص الفقهي Sheikh Saleh Fawzan.
موجود على الشبكة مترجم بالإنجليزي.
It can be found on the website, translated in English.
ومنهج التربية النبوية للطفل.
Also the prophetic methodology of raising or rearing a child.
لمحمد نور سويد.
From Muhammad Nur Suwaid.
وهذا لم أجده في الشبكة مترجما.
He couldn't find it on the on the internet translated.
إذن الأسرة في اللغة عشيرة الرجل ورهطه يعني جماعته.
The family in Islam are the relatives of the family and those his people.
وتطلق على أهل بيت الرجل.
It can also be the term can also be used for the people who actually live in his home.
يعني أنها عندنا تشمل النوعين الأسرة القصيرة والأسرة الممتدة والأسرة البسيطة والأسرة الكبيرة.
It includes both the nuclear family and the extended family.
وقلنا أهمية الأسرة هي نفس أهمية الزواج، فإذا كنا نتحدث عن أهمية الأسرة فإننا نتحدث عن أهمية الزواج في الإسلام.
As we've already mentioned, the importance of the family is similar, if not the same, to the importance of marriage. So when we talk about one, we're talking about the other.
من أهمية الزواج أنه من سنن الأنبياء والمرسلين عليهم الصلاة والسلام.
From the importance of marriage is that it is the sunnah, is the tradition of the prophets and the messengers before عليهم الصلاة والسلام.
فغالب الأنبياء عليهم الصلاة والسلام كونوا أسرا.
Most of the prophets and messengers had families themselves.
وهم قدوة لنا.
And they are an example for us to follow.
لأن الله جل وعلا ذكر جملة من الأنبياء فقال أولئك الذين هدى الله فبهداه مقتده.
Allah mentioned a number of the prophets, and then thereafter He said, these are the ones that have been guided, and so by their guidance you should be guided as well.
فالشيء الذي يفعله الأنبياء عليهم الصلاة والسلام يعتبر شيئا يتبعون فيه ويشرع اتباعهم فيه.
Anything that the prophets and messengers did, then it's something that we are implicitly encouraged to do as well.
كذلك من أهمية الزواج في الإسلام أن فيه امتثالا لأمر النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام وأمر الله جل وعلا قبل ذلك.
And from the importance of marriage in Islam is that in marrying we are following the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala first and the command of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam thereafter.
فإن الله جل وعلا أمرنا بالنكاح في القرآن فقال فانكحوا ما طاب لكم من النساء.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran commanded us to marry, as He said in Surah An-Nisa, marry those whom you see as good or suitable from women.
والنبي عليه الصلاة والسلام حثنا على الزواج.
And the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam himself encouraged us to get married.
فقال يا معشر الشباب من استطاع منكم الباءة فليتزوج.
He said, young people, those of you who are able to get married, you should do so.
وبين النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام في هذا الحديث بعض مقاصد النكاح وآثاره.
And he also explained in the same hadith some of the goals or some of the objectives of getting married, and some of its
والآثار.
and some of the effects of getting married.
فقال فإنه أغض للبصر.
Because it helps to lower the gaze from those things that are prohibited.
وأحصن للفرج.
And it protects one's private parts from falling into haram.
وهذا المقصد الذي هو إعفاف الفرج وغض البصر كذلك يعتبر من أهمية الزواج في الإسلام.
And so these two objectives or these two features of getting married are a part of what makes marriage important in Islam.
وكذلك من أهمية الزواج في الإسلام قيام الزوج على المرأة بالرعاية والإنفاق والحفظ والصيانة.
Another goal of marriage is that a man takes care of and supports and protects his wife.
فإن الله جل وعلا من إكرامه للمرأة أنه ألزم الرجل إذا تزوجها وكذلك إذا كانت أمه أو كانت أخته أو كانت بنته بأن يرعاها ويحسن صحبتها.
From Allah's care and concern and caretaking of women is that He has required a man that if he marries her, that he takes care of her or any woman that's under his supervision or protection or guardianship.
ووصف الله جل وعلا العلاقة الزوجية بأنها ميثاق غليظ.
He also described the marriage contract as a strong binding agreement.
وهذا الميثاق سيأتينا أنه ينشأ عن رضا الطرفين. عن رضا الطرفين.
That this contract or this agreement that exists between them, this connection that exists between them, it is with mutual consent.
واختيار كل واحد منهم الارتباط بالآخر.
And that each of them chooses to be connected or related with the other, that it's not forced upon them.
فكانت له آثار.
So this has an effect.
منها صيانة المرأة والقيام بحقوقها.
That it protects the woman. It protects the woman and guards her rights, and it makes sure that she's taken care of and supported financially.
وتوفير المأوى لها.
And that she also gets her dowry or mahar.
والدفاع عنها.
And that she's protected and no.
كذلك من أهمية الزواج حصول السكن
Also that
يعني الراحة
it provides tranquility. Marriage provides tranquility. That's another benefit of it.
والأنس بين الزوجين
And that it brings closeness between the spouses.
قال الله جل وعلا هو الذي خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها.
He said, Allah says in the Quran that the translation of which that He is the one that created from each of them the spouses so that they could find tranquility amongst themselves.
وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة.
And that He created love and mutual affection between you.
وهذه المودة والرحمة يعرفها كل زوجين.
And anyone who's married knows that mutual affection and love.
فالمرأة تترك أهلها تترك أباها وأمها وتأنس بهذا الرجل.
A woman leaves her family, she leaves her home, and she finds comfort with the man that she marries.
كذلك من أهمية الزواج وتكوين الأسرة في الإسلام بقاء النسل البشري وتكثير عدد المسلمين.
Also, another benefit of marriage is that it continues the population of human beings, that human beings are allowed to continue on the earth.
لذلك حث النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام على الزواج بالمرأة الولود الودود.
And for this reason, the Prophet ﷺ encouraged that a man marry a woman who is capable of bearing many children and who is very loving and affectionate.
فقال تزوجوا الولود الودود فإني مكاثر بكم الأمم.
Marry childbearing, affectionate women because I will be bragging about how many people are a part of my nation.
وهذا المقصد النبوي في تكوين الزواج الذي هو مكاثرة الأمم وتكثير نسل المسلمين هو مما هوجم عليه في هذا العصر.
And increasing the Islamic population, which the Prophet ﷺ mentioned as a goal of marriage, is the very thing or the very essence that's being attacked in modern day and times.
وكان له أثر في تغيير مفهوم الأسرة.
And this is why the concept of marriage itself has started to change.
حتى صارت الأسرة في الزمن المعاصر تعني من يسكن في بيت واحد من الزوجين وإذا كان لهما ولد واحد أو ولدان فهذا هو مفهوم الأسرة في الزمن المعاصر.
The family has simply become two people who live under the same roof, whether they have one children or two children or no children for that matter.
وقد سبقا ذكرنا أن هذا المفهوم غير صحيح.
And we've said this is incorrect.
كذلك من أهمية الزواج حفظ الأنساب.
It also preserves the family lines.
فإن العلاقة الزوجية ترتقي بالإنسان عن المستوى البهيمي.
Because
مستوى الحيوانات.
Yeah, the marriage between a man and a woman, it keeps him from debasing himself as animals do.
التي تتكاثر ولا تعرف عن أولادها شيئا.
Who simply procreate or reproduce without having any further relationship or connection with their children.
بينما الزواج بالطريقة الشرعية يثبت رابطة بين الأبوين وبين أولادهما.
Whereas in Islamic society, under Islamic law, marriage helps to preserve the relationship between the parents and the children.
ويثبت به النسب المتسلسل.
And we have
فلان ابن فلان ابن فلان.
relatives, and we know that a person is related to this person and that person based upon the correct marriage.
كذلك من أهمية تكوين الأسرة قيام الأسر الشريفة التي تسودها الرحمة والصلة والنصرة على الحق.
And the other thing about marriage is that it also creates marriage in Islam is a noble relationship. It creates a family of nobility that's built on relations, built upon mercy, and built upon supporting the truth.
وفيه كذلك حماية المجتمعات البشرية من الوقوع في الفواحش.
And it also keeps individuals from falling into things that are reprehensible.
التي تهدم الأخلاق وتقضي على الفضيلة.
Things that break down good character and that support corruption.
مقدمات النكاح الذي هو أساس الأسرة نجعلها في 4 عناصر.
So, in giving an introduction to marriage, we will focus on 4 main areas.
حكم النكاح،
What is the ruling on marriage itself?
وأحكام خطبة النكاح،
The rulings related to proposals.
وحكم الخطبة على الخطبة،
The ruling of making a proposal once a proposal has already been made by another.
وحكم النظر إلى المخطوبة.
And the ruling of looking at one that's intended to be married or looking at the proposed bride.
أما النكاح
As for marriage itself,
فله 5 أحكام في الشريعة
there are 5 rulings that it has in Islamic legislation,
بحسب الأحوال.
depending on the circumstances and the context.
فأحيانا يكون الزواج واجبا على الشخص،
Sometimes it's mandatory for a person to get married.
وذلك إذا كان قادرا على النكاح
If he's able
ويخشى على نفسه من الوقوع في الزنا.
and he fears that he will commit fornication or adultery.
فكل من يجد في نفسه شهوة وقدرة على النكاح ويخاف على نفسه من الزنا إذا لم يتزوج وجب عليه شرعا أن يتزوج.
Any person who has the ability and the strength to get married and he fears for himself falling into something that's impermissible, then it is mandatory for that person to get married.
كذلك من أحكام النكاح أنه يكون مستحبا.
Sometimes it's encouraged, religiously encouraged for a person to get married.
وذلك لمن يجد القدرة عليه ولا يخشى على نفسه من الزنا.
And that's if he has the ability to do so. However, he's not fearful of falling into fornication or adultery.
ويكون مباحا.
And it can simply be permissible.
المباح الذي يجوز للإنسان يفعله أو أن يتركه.
And he can do it if he likes, or he can leave it if he likes.
وذلك إذا كان لا يجد شهوة.
If he has no real desire,
ولكنه يستطيع على تكاليف الزواج.
but he has the financial ability to get married.
فهذا يجوز له أن يتزوج.
And this person can get married if he so desires.
إذا لم يكن في زواجه إضرار بالمرأة.
If marrying is not going to cause him to harm the woman in some way.
ويجوز له ألا يتزوج.
And if he decides not to get married, then that's no problem either.
لأن زواجه لا يتحقق به كثير من المقاصد الشرعية.
Because this type of person getting married, he's not going to fulfill many of the purposes for which marriage was established in the first place.
كذلك يكون الزواج في بعض الصور محرما.
Sometimes marriage in certain situations can be impermissible.
كزواج الكافرة غير الكتابية إذا تزوج بها المسلم.
If a person marries a non-Muslim, if the non-Muslim is a Christian or a Jewish woman.
وكذلك أيضا صور تحريم النكاح التي سنذكرها فيما بعد.
And also other situations which we will go into more detail in hereafter.
كذلك يكون النكاح مكروها في بعض الصور.
In certain situations it can be detestable or disliked for a person to get married.
وذلك إذا كان الرجل ليس بحاجة إلى الزواج لا يجد شهوة قوية.
If the person himself doesn't really have a desire to get married.
ففي هذه الحال إذا تزوج امرأة ترغب في إعفافها ولا يلحقها كبير ضرر أو لا يتحقق أو تزوج امرأة لا تلد أو تزوج هو وهو لا يلد امرأة تريد أن تنجب فهذا فيه ضرر يتلافى من شأن الناس أن يقبلوه لكنه مناف لمقاصد الشريعة.
If a person gets married, for example, to a woman who doesn't suit him to such an extent that it doesn't quench his natural desires, or if he marries a woman, for example, that cannot have children, or something related to that, where the purposes of marriage again are not being fulfilled, and in those situations, it could be detested for that person to get married or disliked. Excuse me, when is the normal break time? 11 بعد 45 دقيقة.
العنصر الثاني من عناصر الدرس عندنا الخطبة وأحكامها.
The next thing we want to talk about is the proposal,
خطبة النكاح.
marriage proposal.
والمراد بخطبة النكاح طلب الزواج.
And a marriage proposal is seeking or requesting to get married.
طلب الرجل أن يتزوج بامرأة، هذا الذي نسميه خطبة النكاح.
A man mentioning his interest in marrying a woman, that's what we call a marriage proposal.
وهناك أيضا خطبة النكاح
And we also have something called khutbatun nikah,
التي هي خطبة الحاجة التي سنعرفها.
and that is when an introductory speech is given prior to the beginning of the marriage. So we have
يعني
khutbah.
الكلام الذي يقوله عاقد النكاح.
This is the speech or the introductory speech that the person who is going to marry the couple, this is what he says. This is called khutbah.
أي نعم. وطلب الزواج خطبة.
But the proposal itself is called khitbah with a kasra.
هذه الخطبة لها حالات تحرم فيها.
There are certain instances where proposing to a woman is impermissible.
الحالة الأولى خطبة المطلقة الرجعية.
If a woman has been divorced, but she can be taken back by her first husband and she's still in her waiting period, then it is impermissible for her to be proposed to.
المطلقة الرجعية هي المرأة التي طلقها زوجها بعد الدخول بها أقل من 3 وبلا عوض.
طيب. The woman who is considered divorced, but she can be taken back, then she's the woman who has been divorced.
أقل من 3.
She's been divorced fewer than 3 times.
ومن غير أن تبذل له عوضا من أجل أن يطلقها.
And she hasn't been given compensation in order for her to be divorced, which would be known as khula.
يعني المرأة إذا تزوجها الرجل وطلقها قبل أن يدخل بها هذه ليست عليها عدة.
As for the woman who has been married, but that marriage has not been consummated, or the man has not been alone with her after the marriage contract has been completed, then if she is divorced, then she has no iddah, she has no waiting period.
يجوز لغيره أن يتزوجها مباشرة.
Anyone can marry her immediately.
إن الله جل وعلا قال يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا نكحتم المؤمنات ثم طلقتموهن من قبل أن تمسوهن فما لكم عليهن من عدة تعتدونها.
Allah mentions in the Quran, "O you who believe, if you divorce a woman after you have married her and you have not consummated the marriage or been alone with her, then she has no iddah that she has to wait for."
كذلك إذا طلق الرجل امرأته الطلقة الثالثة هذه ليس له عليها رجعة، تدخل في العدة لكن ليس له عليها رجعة.
Also, the woman who has been divorced the 3rd time, she still has a waiting period, but her husband cannot take her back. Her first husband, no.
كذلك إذا دفعت المرأة مالا لزوجها من أجل أن يطلقها يسمى هذا الخلع، هذا ليس له عليها رجعة.
Also, a woman who pays money or compensates her husband for her request to be divorced, this woman also cannot be taken back by her husband, and it's called khula.
وهذا من عدالة الإسلام.
And this is from Islam's justice.
لأننا لو جعلنا للرجل في هذه الحال حق الرجعة على المرأة لجمع بين أمرين، أن يأخذ مالها وأن يبقيها عنده.
Because if under the latter issue mentioned, which is where a woman compensates her husband for allowing her to be divorced, then we would be allowing the man to not only take the money that she gave him, but also to take her back at the same time, which would be doubly harmful for her.
فكان من عدل الإسلام ومحاسنه أن المرأة إذا بذلت مالا من أجل أن تطلق لا يكون للرجل عليها رجعة.
And so from the goodness of Islam and the good rulings of Islam is that if a woman compensates her husband for after requesting divorce, that he is not allowed to take her back thereafter.
هذا كله شرح الحالة الأولى. الحالة الأولى من حالات الخطبة التي تكون فيها حراما خطبة المطلقة الرجعية.
So we said all of this just to explain the first concept, which is when it is impermissible for a man to propose to a woman, and that's when she has been divorced. However, it is a divorce in which the husband, the first husband, can still take her back.
من يعرف لماذا تحرم خطبة المطلقة الرجعية؟
does anyone know why it is impermissible for a man to propose to a woman who can be taken back still by her first husband, men or women included?
لأنها زوجة. أحسنت. لأنها زوجة، وبالتالي نفهم من هذا أيضا أن زوجة الغير لا تجوز خطبتها من باب أولى.
Now, one of the listeners responded saying that even though we call her divorced, that she's still considered married. And so because of that, it's not permissible for us to propose, for a man to propose to a married woman. And so likewise, if a divorced woman is still considered in this instance married, then a woman who is not divorced and is married is entitled to even more sanctity or sacredness that she cannot be proposed to.
كذلك
يعني إذا خلع المرأة رجلها لا يحق له أن يتزوجها مرة ثانية.
يحق له أن يتزوجها بس لا يراجعها. الرجعة ليست هي زواج. الرجعة إعادة المطلقة إلى ما كانت عليه من غير عقد، ما تحتاج رضاها ولا رضا وليها. الرجعة لا تحتاج رضا المرأة ولا رضا وليها.
A questioner asked, does that mean that a woman who gives compensatory money to be divorced, that her husband can never marry her again? And the Sheikh responded that no. What that means is that if a man wants to marry a woman who has given him compensatory money to divorce her, then there has to be a new marriage contract from the beginning. Not that he can't marry her ever again. Whereas a woman who's been divorced and she can be taken back by her husband can take her back without her consent or without her guardian's consent, because they're still considered, as the Sheikh mentioned, they're still considered to be married. It's more like a temporary divorce that hasn't played out its time.
أما الزواج فهو عقد إنشائي.
As for marriage, it is an introductory, or it's a beginning contract. It's not a continuing contract.
له شروط ستأتينا منها اتفاق الطرفين.
It has certain conditions as the Sheikh will mention when that area of the dars comes.
Can we marry her again?
if إذا رجع إليها فلوسها هل يمكن أن يزوجها أن يأخذها؟
لا خلاص هي دفعت فلوسها من أجل أن تفتدي نفسها. هو الخلع أصلا لا يكون إلا بسبب مشكلة تريد المرأة أن تخرج منها، فإذا قبل المال بعد ذلك ليس له أن يرد لها المال من أجل أن يبقيها عنده، ليس من حقه ذلك.
Another questioner asked if a woman offers to pay this compensatory money, the man accepts it, and then later on he changes his mind and wants to give the woman the money back, to take her back as his wife. Can he do so? The Sheikh said no, that first of all, the woman wouldn't make that type of request unless there was some type of issue in the first place. So once the man accepts that money, that it's not, he can't just give it back and change his mind. That acceptance means that the issue has been completed.
كذلك من الحالات التي تحرم فيها الخطبة خطبة المعتدة غير الرجعية نسميها البائن.
Also, another type of woman who cannot be proposed to is the woman who, even if she has been divorced 3 times, if she's still in her iddah, she's still in her waiting period, she cannot be proposed to at that time.
كالتي في طلقتها الثالثة أو المتوفى عنها زوجها.
Or similarly, a woman who has been widowed. Her husband has died and she's in her waiting period. Then in this waiting period, she cannot be proposed to.
هذه تحرم خطبتها بالكلام الصريح.
You cannot directly propose to such a woman.
لكن لا يمتنع في المتوفى عنها زوجها مثلا أن يكني لها الإنسان، يسمى التعريض عندنا في الفقه. مثلا يقول لها إني في مثلك لراغب، ما يقول لها أنا أبغى أتزوجك، لكن يقول لها إني في مثلك لراغب، يعني تعجبني امرأة مثلك.
In the situation where a woman is not going to go back to her first husband, whether he has died or whether he is divorced for the 3rd time, a direct proposal cannot be made to her. However, an indirect proposal can. And in Islamic term, that's called ta'reed. And in that situation, he would not say, I want to marry you, or I'm interested in marrying you, but he would say something to the effect of, a man like me is interested in a woman like you, or a man like me would be foolish to refuse a woman like you, and so on.
لكن المعتدة غير الرجعية إذا جاز لمطلقها أن يتزوجها جاز له أن يخطبها في عدتها. المطلقة غير الرجعية إذا جاز لمطلقها أن يتزوجها جاز له أن يخطبها في حال العدة.
طيب.
سنبينه بس خليه يترجم هذا بعدين نبين.
Say it again.
المطلقة غير الرجعية هذه التي قلنا لا يجوز التصريح بخطبتها. إذا كان لنفس الشخص الذي طلقها يجوز له أن يتزوجها فإنه يجوز له أن يخطبها في نفس عدتها.
طيب. The man who divorced the woman the third time, and now this woman is in her iddah, and she cannot be proposed to by a different man than the one that proposed to her. The same man that divorced her in this waiting period can propose to her again. It's permissible for him to do so, as it is permissible for him to marry her.
كيف هذا؟
How is that possible?
ها؟ لا، هذا في الخلع نفس التي ذكرناها قبل قليل. المرأة التي خالعت زوجها دفعت مال من أجل أن تطلق، هذه أصبحت بائن ليست رجعية، لكن يجوز لزوجها أن يتزوجها وبالتالي يجوز له أن يخطبها وهي في العدة.
We spoke about the situation where a woman pays compensatory money for her husband in requesting her husband to divorce her and him complying. If after she pays this money and he agrees and they're divorced, if the man then has a new desire to be with the woman again and decides to propose to her, it is permissible for him to propose to her even if she's in her waiting period.
واضحة الصورة ولا غير واضحة؟
Is that clear?
طيب لماذا؟
Why?
لماذا يجوز له أن يخطبها في هذه الحالة؟
Why can he propose to her under these circumstances?
He didn't divorce her for 3 times.
يعني هو لم يطلقها 3 مرات.
لا بس هي أصبحت بائن.
No, it's not that he didn't divorce her 3 times because she is separated. There's no way for him to take her back.
هذا الجواب جوابه يصلح لو قلت لماذا يجوز له أن يتزوجها. لو قلت لماذا يجوز له أن يتزوجها كان جوابه صحيح.
He said if one of the attendees, he responded that the reason why it's permissible for him to propose to her is because he hasn't divorced her 3 times, which would require another husband to be in the picture. The Sheikh mentioned that this would be if we were talking about the marriage itself, but here we're simply talking about proposal. Why is it permissible for him to propose?
لا المختلعة التي بذلت مالا وطلقها من أجل مقابل أن يأخذ منها مالا صارت بائن لا يجوز له أن يراجعها. ليست له عليها رجعة.
So for the sake of clarity, I'm gonna make clarify here. We have 2 situations in which a woman is permanently separated from her husband. And he cannot take her back without her desire and without her guardian's desire. There's one situation where he's divorced her 3 times. Once that's happened, that is a permanent divorce. He has to wait for someone else to marry her in order for him to be able to even propose to her or marry her again. There's another situation that we talked about earlier where a woman pays money, the khula, where the woman pays money in order for her husband to divorce her. However, he's only divorced her once or twice. In that situation, he can still marry her, but there has to be a new contract from the beginning. In this situation, during her waiting period, it is permissible for the husband who she paid the money to and who she separated from permanently here, it's permissible in this situation for this husband to propose to her while she's in her waiting period. But why?
فهو له وبالتالي هو وحده يحق له أن يتزوجها خلال هذه الفترة.
قربت من الجواب هو حتى لو لم يكن لها ولد النتيجة واحدة. نعم.
He's
إنه لا يزال تحت يعني هو لا يزال يعني يدفع لها ويخلف عليها.
لا يلزمه أن يدفع لها، لكن الجواب أنه لم يتعلق بها حق غيره. لم يتعلق. لاحظ معي، لو أن رجلا طلق امرأته وجاء واحد يخطبها، هذا جاء ودخل على حق غيره. رجل مثلا اسمه أنس طلق امرأته وجاء واحد اسمه بكر وخطبها، هذا خطب امرأة تعلق بها حق الغير، حتى لو كانت غير رجعية، لأنها في عدة ذلك الثاني، هي في عدة أنس. فجاء بكر يخطبها، بكر هذا خطب امرأة يتعلق بها حق أنس. أما هذه المختلعة، من الذي فارقها؟ هو نفس الذي خطبها، نفس الذي خطبها هو الذي فارقها. فنقول إذا خالعت امرأة رجلا فإنها تبين منه. إذا خالعت امرأة رجلا أي دفعت له مالا من أجل أن يطلقها فقبل المال، فإنها تبين منه، لا يحق له أن يراجعها، لكن لا يحرم عليه نكاحها ولم يتعلق بها حق غيره، فيجوز له أن يخطبها في العدة.
طيب. I'll now change my terminology. For the woman who has separated from her husband in a khula, I will call that a complete separation. And for the woman who has divorced 3 times, I'll call that a permanent separation. So the woman who is completely separated from her husband, as it relates to a khula, her paying compensatory money, then the iddah, the waiting period itself, is considered a right of the husband. The waiting period itself is considered a right of the previous husband. She has to wait that time before she is allowed to marry someone else. Because that waiting period is his right, he is allowed to propose during his own right. Whereas someone else, another person trying to marry, he would be trying to marry during the period of someone else's right, which is not permissible to him. Even if it's a complete separation, that waiting period, that time, is still the right of the other husband. So he's allowed to impose on his own right, but no other man is allowed to do that.
لا، هذا ما ينفع، لأن حتى البائن التي لا يجوز له أن يراجعها إذا طلقها بعد طهر واحد من جماعه يمكن أن يكون فيها ماؤه لمدة 3 أشهر. لكن هذا من الحكم في العدة، والعدة لا نتعلق فيها بالحكم فقط، العدة عبادة، حتى لو ما عرفنا فيها الحكمة فإن العدة واجبة.
Now, as it relates to the iddah itself, in everything that Allah legislates, there is wisdom and there is a reason behind it. But that doesn't mean that that's always going to be apparent. So in everything that Allah legislates, don't try to always think that you're going to find a necessary reason as to why this happens that makes sense, for example, to you. But the iddah period, we also see it as a form of worship, that we have this waiting period because Allah legislated it. Whether it's for this, whether it's for that, those other purposes might be fulfilled in the waiting period. But we do the waiting period because Allah said to do it. And that's the first reason. So whether we understand the wisdoms behind that or not, it still is a worship, so we do it because Allah legislated it.
كذلك من حالات تحريم الخطبة خطبة الرجل المسلم على خطبة أخيه المسلم.
The next situation in which it's impermissible for a man to propose to a woman is if another Muslim man has already beat him to the proposal.
فإن النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام نهى المسلم أن يبيع على بيع أخيه وأن يخطب على خطبته.
The Prophet ﷺ forbade an individual, a Muslim, from selling something to someone who has already been sold to, and from proposing to a woman who has already been proposed to.
هذا الشق الأول من أحكام الخطبة، من أحكام الخطبة النكاح.
This is the first section or branch of issues related to marriage, or the first half. Excuse me.
الشق الثاني حكم النظر إلى المخطوبة.
The next half, the first issue relates to looking at the proposed woman.
أنتم تعلمون أن الأصل أن الرجل لا ينظر إلى امرأة أجنبية والمرأة الأجنبية كذلك لا تنظر إلى رجل أجنبي نظر شهوة.
So the fiancés, if that's what we want to call it in terms of the terminology of in terms of English, either one, the male or the female, are not allowed to look at each other as long as they are not married.
لأن الله جل وعلا أمرنا بالغض من أبصارنا وأمر النساء كذلك بالغض من أبصارهم.
That's the basic rule. Allah has told us that that men should lower their gazes from looking at women, and women should likewise lower their gazes from looking at men.
وفرض الله الحجاب على النساء.
And Allah legislated hijab for women.
فإذا أراد رجل أن يتزوج امرأة فإن الشريعة أباحت له أن ينظر إليها على وفق الضوابط التي سنذكرها.
However, when a man proposes to a woman and shows true interest in marrying her, then Islam has allowed for him to be able to look at her according to the dictates of what Islam says is permissible in that situation.
وذلك لما سبق أن ذكرناه من مقاصد النكاح التي منها الأنس.
And that's because of what we've mentioned previously, in that one of the purposes of marriage is affection.
فليس من شأن الرجل أن يأنس بامرأة لا يرغب فيها.
A man cannot be affectionate for a woman that he hasn't seen or doesn't have any interest in.
وشأن النساء أن يكون مستورات.
And women are usually covered.
فكان من حق الرجل أن يكشف من المرأة ما يجوز على وفق الضوابط التي نذكرها ليعرف ما الذي يقبل عليه.
So a man is allowed to remove from that cover what Islam has allowed him to remove so that he can build that affection.
والنبي عليه الصلاة والسلام أمر أحد أصحابه بأن ينظر إلى من خطبها.
And the Prophet ﷺ commanded one of his companions, radiallahu anhum, to look at the woman that he proposed to.
فأخبره أحد أصحابه أنه خطب امرأة من الأنصار.
And so he informed with one of the Ansar that he had proposed to a woman from the Ansar.
فقال له النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام هلا نظرت إليها.
So the Prophet ﷺ asked him, didn't you look at her?
وبين في حديث آخر لماذا النظر فقال لعله أن يؤدم بينكما أي تكون بينكما مودة.
Or why didn't you look at her? And then he mentioned the reason for that, and he said it will bring the two of you closer together.
إذن يجوز النظر إلى المخطوبة بشروط.
And so it's permissible for a man to look at his fiancée or the woman that he's proposed to under certain conditions.
الشرط الأول
The first condition
أن يغلب على ظن الرجل أنها ستوافق هي وأهلها.
is the first condition is that he has a pretty good idea that she and her family will both agree to his proposal.
فإذا كان الغالب على ظنه أنها لا توافق أو أن أهلها لا يوافقون فلا يجوز له أن يكشف لها سترا.
If he doesn't think that she's going to accept or that the family is going to accept, then it's not permissible for him to look at her.
الشرط الثاني ألا ينظر إليها في خلوة، ألا يكون في خلوة، لا يكون معهما أحد من المحارم.
The second condition is that he cannot look at her alone. He cannot be alone with her to look at her.
الشرط الثالث أن يقتصر على ما يظهر غالبا. أن يقتصر في النظر على ما يظهر من المرأة غالبا وهو وجهها وكفاها.
He also said that it's one of the conditions that he can only look at what's normally apparent or naturally apparent from a woman, which is her face and hands.
الشرط الرابع أن يأمن من الفتنة.
The fourth condition is that they don't fear that there's going to be any type of
فإذا كان يخاف على نفسه أنه إذا نظر إليها ولم توافق أو لم يوافق أهلها سيحمله ذلك على متابعتها بالفاحشة أو نحو ذلك.
he doesn't fear his own desires or it becoming a source of tribulation or difficulty for himself. That he's going to look at her and then she will reject him, and then his soul or his heart will be attached to her, and he'll begin to follow her or stalk her wherever she goes.
فإنه لا ينظر إليها إذا خاف من الفتنة.
If he thinks it's going to be that type of ordeal for him, then it's better for him not to look at her.
أحد عنده شيء؟
Anybody?
خطبة؟
Any questions regarding proposals?
يحق له أن ينظر إلى ما يظهر منها عادة
نعم.
الوجه والكفين، ولكن سمعت أن من عادة النساء هنا في السعودية أن يعني
English, please, because he translates.
Yeah.
I have English speaker, no problem.
So I heard
Female.
that the habit
5 minutes,
here
inshallah, we
that
want this.
the proposed women can show them like their hair and their like they wear like regular clothes, so they show more than their faces and their hands. So is that permissible in Islam or?
He said in certain situations. Oh, وقال هو سمع أنا هنا في السعودية أن بعض النساء يعني في الخطبة في النظر يعني مو يعني يظهر كل شيء، بس يظهر الشعر يعني تلبس لباسها العادي، لكن ليس بس الوجه والكفين. هل هذا يجوز أو ما يجوز؟
إيش تلبس؟ تلبس إيش؟
لا هي تلبس يعني الفستان وكذا، يعني مو ظاهر كل شيء، بس يعني مو يعني بس الحجاب الذي يظهر يعني بدون نقاب أو قفاز.
لا هي تلبس شيء ساتر لكن تظهر الكفان والوجه وممكن شيء من الرقبة.
الشعر؟
الشعر لا يظهر. لا يظهر.
He said the questioner asked he's heard that in certain situations that women when they are proposed to and the intended husband comes to look at her, that he looks at, for example, her hair. Maybe she wears the normal clothes that she wears in the home. The Sheikh said that perhaps her face, her hands, some of her neck, but hair not permissible. Salam. Salam.
خطبنا امرأة في عدتها ولم نكن نعلم ذلك، ثم عرفنا أننا رابع شخص تكلمنا عليها. في هذه الحالة هل لا يجوز أن نذهب إلى خطبتها لأنها تتحدث عن أشخاص آخرون أم بعد العدة نستطيع أن نذهب للخطبة؟
لو تعيد السؤال.
ممكن تعيد السؤال؟
خطبنا امرأة واكتشفنا أنها في عدتها، وأيضا علمنا أننا يعني رابع شخص فقد تحدثنا عنها يعني interested في الخطبة.
رابع شخص
هل يجوز
خطبها؟
لنا أن نخطبها أو تنتهي من العدة أم هل هذه تعتبر خطبة فوق خطبة الشخص الآخر؟
واحد خطبها في العدة.
أيوه.
ولم يعرف أنها في عدة، وجاء ثاني، فبناء على أن الخطبة الأولى كان خاطئة، هل يجوز للثاني أن هذا الثاني الذي خطب في الوقت المناسب هل يعتبر أو لا لا يزال يظن أنه خطب على خطبة أخيه؟
الخطبة الأولى باطلة فلا تؤثر، الباطل ليس له أثر. ثم الخطبة إنما تمنع من خطبة أخرى إذا حصل الركون، إذا وافقت المرأة على خاطبها الأول، حين ذلك يحرم على شخص آخر أن يخطبها. لا يمتنع أن يخطب مجموعة من الرجال، لو جاءوا جميعا وخطبوا المرأة دفعة واحدة لا يمتنع ذلك، توافق على من شاءت منهم. لكن الذي يمتنع أن يخطبها واحد وتظهر الموافقة عليه ثم بعد ذلك يأتي آخر، فهذا الذي يحرم. هذه الخطبة التي ذكرت التي وقعت في العدة هذه خطبة باطلة والباطل ليس له أثر.
طيب, the questioner asked in a certain situation a woman was proposed to, however no one was aware that she was in her waiting period, she was in her iddah. And then when she came out of her iddah, someone else proposed to her as well. Is that second proposal considered proposing on him intruding on the proposal of the first, even though the proposal of the first was during an impermissible time? So the Sheikh said in answer to that question that a proposal that happens in an impermissible time is considered as non-existent. So that proposal doesn't even count. He further clarified that what's intended by not proposing or not intruding on someone else's proposal is when the proposal has been made and the family itself and the woman herself both seem inclined to that individual. As for proposals that have not received any type of response, then 10 people could all be proposing to the same woman, as long as the family or the woman herself has not shown any inclination towards one in particular. Once an inclination is shown that she's interested in an individual and that interest is known, then it's not permissible for anybody else at that time to now propose to that woman. هل الخلع يعتبر طلاق؟
Do we count the khula as a talaq?
يسأل الخلع طلاق.
أي.
الخلع فيه خلاف بين العلماء، هل هو طلاق أم فسخ؟ الفسخ يعني فك العلاقة الزوجية من غير طلاق، وجمهور أهل العلم على أنه طلاق، لأن النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام قال للرجل اقبل الحديقة وطلقها تطليقا، فوجهه النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام ليجعل الفرقة التي حصلت منه طلقة. فالأحوط للإنسان أنه مثلا لو أنه طلق امرأته طلقتين ثم المرة الثالثة خالعته، فصار هنا خلاف، هل يجوز له أن يتزوجها لأن هذا فسخ ليس طلاق، أو لا يجوز له لأن هذا طلاق؟ الأحوط للإنسان يعتبره طلاقا ولا يتزوج بها. لكن لو أن شخصا لم يسمع هذا الكلام مني ولا من غيري فأفتاه شخص آخر بأن الخلع فسخ ليس بطلاق، وبنى على ذلك أنه تزوج امرأة طلقها مرتين ثم خالعته، فإن نكاحه على ما أفتاه به مفتي.
No. A questioner asked, is the khula or the compensatory divorce, is it considered an actual divorce, or is it considered a nullification? Nullification meaning it's not counted amongst those 3 divorces where a person has to wait for someone else to marry before he can marry again. The Sheikh said that according to the majority of scholars, that the khula or the compensatory divorce is an actual divorce. And with that under consideration, if a person, for example, divorced his wife twice, and then she requested from him a compensatory divorce, and he gave it to her, and she gave him compensation for that, that the safest opinion for him would be that he cannot marry her until she married someone else. However, if an individual was unaware of that, and someone else had given him the ruling, he had heard someplace else before getting that knowledge, that the woman who was given a compensatory divorce, it was only considered a nullification then if he married her, if there were 2 divorces and then compensatory divorce, that he would still be allowed to marry her again based upon what he had understood at that time.
هنا أريد أن أنبه إلى شيء يتعلق بالمسائل الخلافية.
And here I want to mention something related to issues concerning differences of opinions among scholars.
الناس في تعاملهم مع الأحكام الشرعية على 4 أقسام.
There are 4 types of people when it comes to dealing with issues of Islamic law.
مجتهد.
There's a person who is able to extract laws by himself.
الذي عنده القدرة على النظر في الأدلة واستخراج الأحكام منها.
And this person is called a mujtahid.
هذا يعمل بما أداه إليه اجتهاده.
He has the skills to be able to look at the types of evidences and to extract the legal rulings based upon the precepts of Islam.
وهذه المرتبة ليست سهلة، لا تنال بالدعاوى.
And this is not a simple task. This is not a simple level to achieve. This takes hard work and it takes a high level of knowledge and ability.
هذه مرتبة من يمارسون النظر في الكتاب والسنة وعرفوا أقوال العلماء.
This is for a person who is very familiar with the very text of the Quran and the Sunnah, and also is familiar with the various opinions of Islamic scholars.
المرتبة الثانية مرتبة المتبع.
The second level is the one who follows.
وهو الإنسان الذي لا يستطيع الوصول إلى الأحكام بنفسه من الأدلة.
He's not able to extract opinions, extract rulings from legal text by himself.
لكن عنده قابلية أن يعرف الحكم بدليله إذا ذكر له.
But if he hears different opinions, or if he hears the correct opinion, he's able to recognize it.
يعني يفهم العلاقة بين الحكم والدليل إذا شرحت له وذكرت.
If the ruling is explained to him, how that ruling was derived, he can understand that.
هذا يتبع الدليل متى عرفه.
This person follows what he sees to be the clearest and the strongest evidence.
القسم الثالث المقتدي.
The next person is the person who is guided.
الذي يتبع غيره بناء على أمارة، بناء على علامة موجودة في ذلك الغير أو في قوله. مثلا هذا الشيخ ابن باز أو هذا الإمام مالك، عرفنا جميعا أن هذه الشخصية لها مكانة في الإسلام، فنتبع ابن باز مثلا أو نتبع الإمام مالك بناء على أنه استقر في أذهاننا أن هذا لا يعمل إلا بالدليل.
Now, so the person who we will call guided is the person who, although he cannot look into evidence himself or cannot recognize the evidences when presented to him, he is able to recognize the personalities, the Islamic personalities who stand for the truth and who follow evidence. And so when that person gives a ruling, he follows that person, not because he knows the ruling himself, but because he knows that that person, when he makes decisions, he follows what's correct.
وهذا أساس المذاهب الفقهية الأربعة، الحنفي والمالكي والشافعي والحنبلي، أن الناس اعتقدوا في أولئك الأئمة أنهم وصلوا من العلم والتقوى والورع بحيث لا يتكلمون إلا ببرهان من الله ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم.
And that's the issue related to people, to those who are followers or students of certain madahib or certain schools of Islamic law, is that the reason why they followed those imams is because they saw in them or heard of them what made them feel comfortable, that they feared Allah and that they knew the truth and were aware of the truth and therefore would only rule accordingly.
فاقتدى بهم الناس لإمامتهم لا لأنهم يعتقدون أن لهم عصمة.
So they followed them, or they followed their guidance, not because they deemed them infallible, but because they saw that they were people who feared Allah and they saw in them scholarship and taqwa.
القسم الرابع المقلد.
The last category is the blind follower.
وهو كالأعمى.
And he is blind.
يمد يده لمن يرشده.
He puts his hand out and he follows the first person that he grabs a hold of.
فهو لا يعرف الأدلة.
He doesn't know the evidences.
وليست عنده أهلية الربط بين الدليل والحكم المستفاد منه.
And he can't make the connection. He doesn't see the connections between the rulings and the evidences.
حتى لو ذكرت له العلاقة ليست عنده قابلية استيعابها.
Even if it was explained to him and expressed to him, he wouldn't understand.
هذا مذهبه مذهب من يفتيه.
And his madhab is the madhab of the one who gives him the verdict.
لكن لا يسقط عنه ذلك أنه عليه أن يتحرى.
That doesn't mean that he should not be careful in the choices that he makes and in the opinions that he follows.
يبحث عن العالم الذي اشتهر بالعلم واشتهر بالتقوى، هذا يتساوى فيه أصحاب العقول.
He still has to look for what he deems to be the most God-fearing, knowledgeable person that's available or accessible to him.
هذه هي الأقسام الأربعة.
So these are the four groups or categories of people as it relates to following Islamic
وبناء
legislation.
على هذا ذكرت لكم أن من أفتاه أحد مثلا في مسألة مختلف فيها فإنه على فتوى مفتيه لأنه ليس له سبيل لمعرفة الحق.
And that's why he mentioned what he mentioned in terms of the person who followed the opinion of a scholar as it relates to the khula being a nullification and not being a divorce, that person, he has no way to know otherwise. So he followed the opinion that was given to him.
ويجب على كل إنسان أن يسعى لمعرفة الحق بدليله.
At the same time, every individual should make it of importance to him to try to understand the legislates of Islam
هل عنده شيء؟
and their evidences.
Question. Jazakallah khair. A blind brother, he wants to make a proposal. So he cannot see the woman. What is his, or what does he do? Does he touch her hands?
الرجل أعمى يريد أن يخطب فيما أنه لا يرى، هل يمكن له مثلا مس وجهها أو مس يديها أو كذا؟
لا يجوز له أن يمس منها شيئا حتى يتزوج بها.
Type a questioner asked if a person was blind and proposed to a woman, as he cannot see her, would it be permissible for him, for example, to touch her face or to touch her hands to kind of get a picture in his mind for what she might look like? The Sheikh said no, until he marries her, it is not permissible for him to touch any part of her body.
ومس الوجه لا يكشف عن الجمال، لا يفيده كثيرا.
And touching her face really won't indicate to him how beautiful she is. It won't accomplish much, touching her face.
فإذا كان يقصد الجمال فيمكن أن يخبره من يثق به.
If he's concerned about her beauty, then perhaps someone that he deems is trustworthy can inform him, I'm assuming from the family.
من أخواته أو نساء أهل بيته.
From the women of his family. Yeah.
من غير أن تصف له المرأة وصفا دقيقا.
But the woman who is describing her to him should not describe her in extreme detail. Wait, salam.
There is a question that if a woman, she is not divorced, but she elopes and she marries a kafir, but later on he reverts. Now, where does she stand? Because she's not divorced legally.
She's not divorced?
She's not divorced. She eloped.
Okay.
المرأة
She's a Muslim, yes?
She's Muslim.
Fine.
But later on, the brother reverts to this couple. But now, where does she stand? Because she's not divorced, right? So now it has happened many years back. But so like, what kind of what is the remedy of Bishra?
طيب.
المرأة هي مسلمة كانت متزوجة، وفي حالة زواجها هي تزوجت بكافر، ثم وهذه كانت سنوات ماضية.
هي مسلمة ومتزوجة.
مسلمة متزوجة مسلم.
نعم.
وهي في ذاك الوقت ما كان راضيا عن زوجها فهرب وزوج كافر. هذا كان
هي نفسها المرأة التي تزوجت بالكافر.
وهي بعد زمن الرجل الذي تزوج الكافر هذا أصبح مسلم. فالآن كما قالت يعني مضت سنوات، إيش الحالة الآن؟ يعني هل ماذا يترتب على عملها؟ هل الآن عشان هو أسلم ومضت سنوات يعتبر متزوجة أو إيش تسوي؟
لا، زواجها باطل. زواجها الثاني هذا باطل من وجهين. باطل لكونه المتزوج بها كافرا، باطل لأنها ذات زوج.
نعم.
وما بني عليه فهو باطل.
The Sheikh mentioned that in the situation that you've described, that the marriage is baseless. It's not considered Islamically for two reasons. Number one, because the woman was already married when she married, which is impermissible, and number two, because she married someone that was impermissible to marry, which was a non-Muslim. So even though it's considered Islamically, that's considered adultery. So even though things may have changed, because it was initiated in the wrong way, then it's considered to still be wrong because of that initial wrong, because of that wrong initiation.
وما زالت تحت عصمة زوجها الأول.
Is she still married to him?
لا، مو سؤال هذا، تكمل الجواب.
She's living with him.
she never separated from the first husband?
لم يفرق بينها وبين الزوج الأول.
هي ما زالت لا أنا ما سألت أجيبها أنها ما زالت تحت زوجها الأول يعني ما زالت زوجة للأول.
The Sheikh mentioned before the question, he mentioned that the woman is still considered married to her first husband. She never properly separated from her first husband. So even if she's been absent from him for 6 years, 10 years, she's still married to him because a proper Islamic divorce has never happened.
وهي زانية بالثاني عليها أن تتوب.
And the woman should repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for her actions because again, Islamically, she would be considered an adulteress.
So she should go back to her first husband.
She has to go back to her first husband. It's not an issue of going back. She needs to leave the second guy. She's already, and technically still married to her first husband. So
That means there is no marriage at all.
there's no, the second guy is not considered married to her at all. You're welcome.
A woman requested khula because she can no longer live with her husband.
She no longer?
Live with her husband. She can't bear the marriage anymore.
She lives with her parents or something?
Can't live with her husband.
Okay, she can't live with him. Okay.
And he refused. But instead he gave her khula. Does she have to spend the remaining waiting period in his house?
طيب الرجل المرأة كرهت زوجها وهي لا تريد أن تسكن معه. هي طلبت منه الخلع ورفض فاستطلقها. هل يلزمها أن تعتد في بيته أو يمكن أن تعتد في بيت واحد ثاني أو في بيت أهلها أو كذا؟
لا يلزمها أن تعتد في بيته. لا يجوز للمرأة الرجعية أن تخرج من بيت زوجها إلا إذا خافت. لا يجوز لها أن تخرج من بيت زوجها ولا يجوز له هو أن يخرجها.
As for the divorce, a question was asked about a woman who found it very difficult, impossible to live with her husband any further. She sought a khula or a compensatory divorce, but he refused. But he thereafter divorced her under regular terms, and so now she's in her waiting period. Is it permissible for her to complete her waiting period elsewhere, or does she have to complete it in the house of her husband? The Sheikh responded by saying that she has to stay in her husband's house. She can't leave of her own accord, and he can't kick her out.
نوقف الدرس والأسئلة للاستراحة.
طيب, we'll stop the lesson and the questions temporarily for the break, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Before we go to the break, please, the quiz, inshallah. Please, the sisters, if you can give out the quiz and start the quiz. 15-20 minutes, inshallah, for the quiz, and then we'll have a coffee break. And we'll try to resume, inshallah, at 11:30. Thank you.
No, it's here. Muhammad, Amr.
متى نبدأ؟
If you take it, it's okay. Use there's
Do I need it again or not? I don't know.
please answer on
Sisters, and the brothers, important, please answer at the bottom of the second page on the answer key and not the questions. Answer using the formula at the back of the second side. Thank you.
Can you ask the sheikh? I just want to know, when you build a mahar, what is it actually for? Because I've heard one other scholar say you actually paying for the lady's womb so that inshallah you would have children. But I mean, when someone gets married, that's not always the ultimate. Not like if you trying to protect yourself from zina and these things, not the thing that you actually think of all the time. So what is the actual reason when you give the money? Is it for that or for something?
Okay.
Shukran.
Barakallahu.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Take a break. Start speaking.
Yeah, sorry.
Took it off, yeah, online. I don't think
It's submitted already?
Should I turn this off? Yeah?